It's a miracle! Tennessee has pulled a miracle!
Broadcast live on thetdshow.com.
Here comes Davis! Oh my God! Davis is going to run it all the way back! Auburn's going to win the football game! Auburn's going to win the football game!
2 hours of the best sports talk on the planet. Or at least out of Edmonton, Kentucky.
Stokely down the sideline!
Did he catch her? Stokely! Wow! Touchdown! Denver! Unbelievable! Coming to you live, your hosts, TJ and Dan. Here goes the
All right, we're back for segment 3, hour 2 of the TD show on this 8th of February.
What month are we in here?
February. It's kind of like a $5 foot long February.
Yeah,
It's a
except that was
TG
in January this year. It's going to be in December next year, I guess.
TD show February.
What do you get for that? We get to hear us for free every Saturday from 9 to 11.
All right, so something I want to talk about with the All-Star Game weekend coming up. I don't know if it's a weekend anymore with all these events they got. It might be a whole week now. But something I'd like to see. I actually didn't even know that there was a skills contest in the
I don't know that I've
All-Star
ever
game.
watched it.
I don't
but
know
I've
what
heard
they
about it.
do, but it don't sound real
They shoot
interesting.
3 points.
Well, that's not in the skills competition. That's the 3-point competition. But what I would like to see to replace this skills competition, which I've never seen, is a one-on-one tournament.
You think?
What do you think?
I don't know how fair it would be.
What do you mean?
You get a big man, 7 foot tall, taking on Muggsy Bowles.
Let's say you get eight of the best players.
The 8 best players, regardless of size, and just let them go
Right.
at it. I think a big man wins every time. I think that you know.
You think a big man beats LeBron or Durant?
I mean, Durant's almost 7 feet tall.
He's not a big man. Roy
Okay.
Hibbert's a big
All right.
man. Andrew Bynum's a big man.
I think Durant probably, or LeBron. would
Here's
probably-
the thing.
Yeah, you're right.
Do you think that any of them play in it? Because my question, I mean,
Right.
I
I see
like
what
this
you're
idea,
saying.
but what does LeBron have to gain from being in it? Because everybody just assumes that
He's the best player. When
Right.
he goes in and loses to Bynum
Right.
or someone, yeah, I see what you're saying.
And-
I don't see the top. Maybe the top tier wouldn't play it. I think somebody would play in it.
And I mean, I could see Kobe not wanting to play it because he's gotten
Old.
so old. But
Yeah.
wouldn't it be awesome to see Kobe, Durant, LeBron, just 8 of the top players go at it?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think it would be pretty cool. Can you imagine if growing up they had this and you had, I mean, Michael Jordan playing in a one-on-one tournament?
But that goes back to what we said about LeBron.
Would he have played? I don't know. I think he would have played, especially
I
if
mean,
there's money
Paul
on it.
George and him and LeBron already have such an intense rivalry from Indiana. Wouldn't that be awesome to just see them play one-on-one?
I think LeBron would take Paul George. What do you think? If it's one-on-one.
Yeah, I, mean, I think LeBron wins. The only person that could beat him maybe is Durant. I just feel like he'd be so much more physical. But say somebody puts $1 million on it and the money gets donated to charity. Don't you feel like they almost feel like they got to play then?
No, because, well, yeah, maybe. But Michael Jordan got challenged to $1 million one-on-one game for charity against the Grizzlies owner and turned it down because he said he had nothing to prove. He said he had nothing to win in that situation. He said he gives more than $1 million to charity every year anyway. He obviously should beat the crap out of whoever he goes and plays, even if he's 50 years old. And if he did lose, then it would just kind of ruin his reputation forever. So he didn't go do it. I don't know that they'd do it. I don't know that $1 million would do it. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, they probably would. It'd be cool to like see a Seth Curry versus a Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
Two smaller guys going at it like that.
I was kind of just thinking about that. Maybe Steph Curry and maybe a Kyrie Irving. I don't know. Yeah, but I agree with you. That's not a bad one.
If you could get them to do it, I mean, that would be a big time event. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have Carmelo Anthony there. You know.
Yeah, if you're gonna, I hadn't thought about
He would
that.
definitely
If you're
be
gonna
there.
have a one-on-one player, you better have Carmelo
Yeah,
there.
he would want to be included in that.
You don't have to worry about him accidentally passing the ball to somebody during a one-on-one game.
I mean, would you think somebody like Tim Duncan would want to do it? I mean, I think He'd probably be all right with it. I don't think he'd have a problem with it. But he's getting kind of old.
Is there any way if Tim Duncan gets the ball at the 3-point line, he can get to the goal on those guys?
I don't know. Shoot it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if he's already in the post, that's one thing. But if he's got to get from there to there, he can't pass and cut and get it back.
I mean,
So,
I think it would be cool. I don't know that it's going to happen.
just a thought. Well, kind of talking about the All-Star game, you got Damian Lillard, the guard from the Trailblazers, who's in all 5 events. He's in the regular game, he's in the sophomore rookie game, he's in the skills competition, the 3-point competition, and the dunk competition. Now, if you're the owner of the Trailblazers, and you've got Damian Lillard, who isn't just a nobody, he's a 30-10 guy on some occasions, do you want him playing in all 5 of those?
Here's the thing: the Trailblazers have overperformed this year.
But I mean, they're a playoff team.
Right. That's what This is where I'm going with it. Most years, I would say yes. I want all the publicity I can get for the Portland Trailblazers. This year, they've got a chance. I mean, they have overperformed. They look a lot better than they've looked in a long time. They might not win.
They've got a chance to winning the game. They're not going to beat the Pacers or the Heat.
Well, yeah, but you know what I'm saying. That they legitimately they're going to look decent in the playoffs. I don't know. I think I'd let him play. I mean, if he wants to play, he's young.
Yeah, here's the thing. He's 23 years old, I think, maybe. If you're 23 years old, you can probably do this no problem. Because you got to think, in the All-Star game, he's probably not going to be playing a huge part of the game. Because mostly nobody is, except for
Right, he's
LeBron,
not
Durant,
12 minutes or so.
Right. In the sophomore rookie game, he might play quite a bit. But you're still going to want to get everybody in because of what it is. And then with a 3-point competition, a dunk competition probably has the highest risk for maybe getting a freak injury.
Yeah.
And we don't even know what the skills competition is. But I'm assuming it's probably, at his age, I feel like he can probably handle this.
I agree. I mean, there's going to be zero stress on it.
Right.
It's not going to matter what he does. I mean, he's going to be out there having a good time.
He's making history by just doing it.
Yeah.
And if it's Kobe Bryant going out there...
Well, Kobe's not even going.
Right, but I'm saying...
Which was good if you're a Kentucky fan. That worked out great for you. Because we all saw who got to take Kobe Bryant's spot.
Who?
Anthony Davis. There you go.
There you go.
For the Pelicans.
But I just feel like with him, if it was somebody like Kobe that's older, you just gotta say, what are you doing? But with him being
But if
young...
it was someone like Kobe, the management is not going to tell him what to do.
Well, that's true.
He's going to be making his own decisions. I mean, he hires his own coach. Anyway.
But talking about players resting and so on, Greg Popovich sets Tim Duncan, doesn't let him play, just like we've seen in the past. And we saw last year they got a $250,000 fine, I think, for when they went to Miami and played on national TV. Then they were on national TV again in this game. Do you have a problem with it?
Yeah, I do. I don't
really.
Get it. I don't get it. I mean, I get he's old, but it's not even old players that they set so much. It's like
we see it with Dwayne Wade in Miami.
But how much can we set our players? That's what we're doing. Let the boys play.
But if Tim Duncan wants to take a night off, he's 40 years old. I mean, they've built. If there's a dynasty in the NBA, they're a dynasty.
Did he set himself down? Or
how do you know he didn't go to Greg Popovich and say, "Hey"?
I don't know many NBA players that are going to set themselves down that often.
Andrew Bynum, he'll set himself down every game. As long as he's getting paid.
He just wants buddy. Yeah.
But I feel like Greg Popovich is almost a Bill Belichick of the NBA, except I feel like he's a little more likable.
Yeah.
But he handles the media the same way. I mean, he hardly won't talk to him. But for some reason, I like Greg Popovich and I don't like Bill Belichick.
I don't know. I just think in general the NBA sets their players too much. Now Tim Duncan, I'm going to say, is the exception to that
He's
rule.
earned it.
He's 95 years old. He's played at
and
a
he still
high
plays
level
like he's 25.
Every single game of his career, he's played at his peak. So I'm going to give Tim Duncan a pass on this, which I don't know if I'm allowed to do or not. But most of the time, I say play him. I mean, if I went to a Spurs game, I'd be going to see Tim Duncan. Can I call ahead of time and say, what days are you going to set Tim Duncan? Can I get a refund on my tickets if Tim Duncan doesn't play?
No, but I mean, what about if you go watch Miami play and Dwayne Wade doesn't play?
I'm okay with that.
Because you got LeBron.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But I mean, I just feel like they're doing the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
They're just getting away with it because they have LeBron to cover the tracks.
Exactly. I agree.
All right, so
I like Tim Duncan more than I like any of the other people
Yeah.
there. He's one of my favorite players in the league.
he's a nice guy. I had supper with him a few times. Anyways, something that we were kind of shocked with the other night. I believe it was Wednesday night.
Mm-hmm.
The Cavaliers went to LA and played the Lakers.
Yeah.
They only had 7 players eligible to start the game.
For the hurt injuries, yes.
Right. 7 or 8. And then you had 2 players get injured during the game. And then you had a player foul out. So you were down to 5 players. So they had 8. 2 got hurt, 1 fouled out. They were down to 5 players in the fourth quarter. And we saw the 5th player foul out. And I was expecting a Hoosiers moment there. You know,
Yeah.
my team's on the floor. But we learned that if there's only 5 players available and one of them fouls out, then he stays on the court, and every personal foul called after that is a technical foul on the team. I had no idea that rule existed.
No, me
None.
neither. I mean,
Never heard of it.
what? Shoot, if you got a good team, I just bring 5 players to some games.
And they end up winning.
Yeah, they win the game.
Of course, the Cavaliers are terrible, but you figure in that scenario, somebody's going to commit some fouls, you're going to get some free throws, surely you can win the game.
Yeah, let me. He's.
I just feel like they should have let him play with 4.
Yeah, I assumed that was the rule, that you would either forfeit or you would play with 4. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, it's almost an advantage to the team that's getting the 5th player fouling out.
Especially if you have playing a bad free throw shooting team.
Right.
Foul every time.
I
You
just-
have nothing to get. Of course, they get the ball back.
Right.
But I don't know. That's a very strange rule. I guess I really don't know the reason besides why you would have that rule. I'm trying to actually read this here. It says no team may be reduced to less than 5 players. If a player in a game receives his 6th personal foul and all substitutes have already been disqualified, said player shall remain in the game and should be charged with a personal and team foul. A technical foul also shall be assessed against the team. All subsequent personal fouls, including offensive fouls, shall be treated similarly. All players who have 6 or more personal fouls and remain in the game shall be treated similarly. That's rule number 3, section I.
So who knew one player could get 10 or 11 fouls in a game?
You can get infinite fouls in the game.
Staying on something else kind of bizarre, Grizzlies giving away temporary neck tattoos.
When I first saw this reported, I saw it on ESPN First Take, and they didn't tell me they were temporary neck tattoos, and I was freaking out. I said, who in the world no, I wouldn't get a free tattoo of anything, let alone Grizzlies across the front of my neck.
Yeah, because I mean, that ain't coming off.
No. I mean, I wouldn't put a temporary Grizzlies tattoo on my neck. But if you see, the Grizzlies are kind of clutching at straws. Like I said, they challenged Michael Jordan to a one-on-one game with their owner. They're giving away these neck tattoos. And in general, they're just doing some crazy things. They're kind of turning into a hockey team. What do you think about neck tattoos?
Yadier Molina has a neck tattoo.
Without offending anybody on the show, I've always said that.
Well, it's only me and you on the show.
Offending anybody listening, I think neck tattoos are about stupid to begin with. I've never really had a huge problem with tattoos in general. I mean, I'm not going to get any. I don't have any. I don't have anything I like enough to tattoo onto me. But when you get a neck tattoo, that puts you, whether or not, you could be the best person in the world. I mean, you could be Mother Teresa, and you get a neck tattoo, automatically people are going to think that you represent a certain kind of lifestyle. White, black, Hispanic, Asian, I don't care what you are. When you get a neck tattoo,
Dog,
that's what
bear,
people think.
pig.
You are given that impression.
Man, bear,
And
pig.
you have to understand that when you put a tattoo on your neck,
Awesome.
you're going to be put in that conversation with
Squirrel.
those people.
Cat. No matter what it is. You're
Yeah.
right. But staying in the NBA, if you're LeBron and you don't win a title this year and you don't think Miami's helping you, where do you go?
I think LeBron loves Miami. I mean, I think he
But
likes it there.
You think he would stay there knowing that he's not going to win another championship? Because we've seen he can't win it all by himself. He can get there. But all right, I'll take it a step further. Money is no issue. Say he says, you know what, I've got enough money. I'll take league veteran minimum to go play somewhere. Salary cap won't be an issue. Where do you go?
I say you go somewhere terrible this year that's going to bring in who you want them to bring in, and then you build from there. I mean, what do you think? He goes to.
Well, I mean, you could go to Chicago.
That was my first thought. My first thought was he'd go to Chicago. Maybe Rose will come back.
Right. You got
That was
a
my
healthy Rose.
first thought, and then I thought I don't know if he'd do that.
You could go Golden State, play with Seth Curry.
Yeah.
You could go to the Lakers, who really won't have anybody, but you can bring the Lakers back to what they were and add something else to your legacy.
That was my second thought. Was he'll go to the Lakers, because they're the Lakers. Magic played there. They're the Lakers. That was and they don't really have any kind of. Well, they got Kobe and they got that cap issue. Money's not an object. They're kind of bad. They're going to have higher draft picks. I mean, I could see it working. Those were my two initial thoughts, and then I thought, I don't know that he'd actually go to either one.
You know where I go if I'm LeBron?
Where?
The Clippers.
Why? Because they're the new Lakers?
Well, you got Chris Paul, and assuming money's no issue, you'd have Blake Griffin too.
Yeah.
But in reality, I mean, he could really end up there because you could trade Blake Griffin in a piece or in cash or whatever for LeBron. I just feel like if he leaves Miami, he's ending up in LA, not with the Lakers.
Well, I guess I can see it. And I could see him wanting to go there rather than go to the Lakers. See, you think about the traditional powerhouses, and you think about the Lakers, and you think about the Knicks, and you think about the Bulls, and that just doesn't fit LeBron's style. He's not a guy that wants to go jump on the train. He wants to build the train. He took Miami.
Well, now wait
a
a second. He didn't build a train. I mean, Dwayne Wade had already won a championship there, and he jumped on board with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. If he wanted to make a train, he could have made a train in Cleveland.
He liked Dwayne Wade, though. They were buddies. They hang out.
Yeah,
on the weekends.
anybody that's that good that can help you win a championship, I'm sure you'll like.
I don't think that's true. I mean, Michael Jordan didn't like a lot of people when he played. I mean, they had
Who helped Michael Jordan the way that
Scottie
Dwayne?
Pippen?
You think Scottie Pippen helped?
No, I mean they're two different players. I think Michael Jordan helped Scottie Pippen as much as LeBron helps Dwayne Wade. Can you put that in reverse? Can we throw it backwards?
All right, but here's something I would like to see in the NBA.
Okay.
I don't know why we've never seen it except for just pure out greed. You've got players that have been playing in the NBA for 8 years that have made $100 million.
Mm-hmm.
At $100 million, I mean, you've made quite a bit of money. You can invest that money and live off that money. There's no real need to make an additional $20 million in 1 year. So why wouldn't somebody like Chris Paul and LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony, somebody just get together?
Carmelo Anthony's not going.
Well, I know.
Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant, 5 big-time players that have made their money. Why wouldn't they just get together and say, you know what, give us a couple million, we'll play, we'll win. Why not? Why not just one time would we never see that?
Well, I've heard just in the past week that the NBA is looking to put a stop to that. They don't want that to happen.
But if you were a player,
yeah, you'd want it to happen.
Why wouldn't you do that?
I think that basketball is a team sport, but at least in the NBA, there's a lot of individual mentality. And I think to become that great of a player, you've got to have a mentality of I can do all of this. I can take all this upon myself.
Look at the great Laker teams.
Oh, I'm not
and the
saying
great
it's
Celtic
not
teams.
right. I'm saying it's the mentality of the NBA right now.
But when we think of Magic Bird,
Magic Bird, they played on the same team and did great. I mean, they loved each other.
When we think of Magic Johnson and Larry Bird and Kevin McHale and all the guys that played with Magic, 5 or 6 great players.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys had other players on their team that go into the Hall of Fame. They were good players.
Yeah.
So why can't we do that now? I mean, there's a reason that the Lakers and the Celtics were good for 15 years. And it wasn't just because of one player.
Right.
There's a reason they were good for that long.
I agree. I don't know. I don't have the answer.
But can you imagine LeBron, Chris Paul, Durant, Tim Duncan, and a big man, Roy Hibbert?
If Tim Duncan's going to be involved, we're going to have to hurry up.
I mean, if he was your number 4 with Durant and LeBron and Chris Paul, Seth Curry. You
I'm
don't
gonna say
have to
we
have
need
them.
number one on that team somewhere.
You don't need a lot
That's true.
from him.
That's true.
They would go undefeated if they wanted to. They would win every game by 15 points if they wanted to.
If they played every night, yeah.
Right. Well, Tim Duncan wouldn't play every night.
I don't think it's going to happen. Just the way that I just don't think that people are. I mean, they have to take minimum salary. They can't take less than minimum salary.
Right. But minimum salary, you sign all those guys to minimum salary, you're going to be doing all right.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. I mean, you could structure it in a way that where it would work.
And I mean, people like LeBron and Durant are making enough money off of basketball. I mean, off of
Commercials.
other things
Yeah.
besides basketball.
I'm just thinking they have to all hit free agency at the same time, because their teams aren't going to trade them to do that.
Right.
I mean, people aren't going to trade to that team. They're not going to be able to get the value that they need to get rid of their star players like that. They all have to hit free agency at the same time. You have to know that some basketball executives, when they're writing people's contracts, look into who's going to be hitting free agency at the same time as this player is going to be hitting free agency. How's that going to affect how we can deal him and where he's going to go? I mean, I just think that there's a lot more involved than I was just thinking it's a good idea.
Well, okay. The Clippers had Blake Griffin.
Mhm.
They could get Blake Griffin and a player to Miami for LeBron. And if all these players are coming here and restructuring their contracts to not make nothing, you're giving those teams cash along with draft picks or players, whatever.
Oklahoma City, would they give up Durant for how much money right now?
They've got a good team.
They got Westbrook
when
when he
you
comes back.
When you got Westbrook back and you got those players around Durant, you still got a pretty good team there.
I agree. You know what? We've kind of run out of time. Something we haven't heard about yet is we haven't been promised anything about what's going to happen this week. We got any kind of guarantees this week?
A guarantee? Well, somewhere I've got a guarantee. Let's get a guarantee going here.
All right, let's see if we can figure out what TJ thinks is going to happen this week and what he's going to guarantee us.
Didn't set this up real well.
Sorry.
All right, I'm 0 for my past 2 on guarantees. I guaranteed that Peyton would not throw an interception in the Super Bowl, and I guaranteed that it would bring a 55. And it actually, I don't understand this. I thought last year was a 51, but apparently I was wrong. It turned out, even though preliminary said it would be the 4th or 5th, it was the most watched Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It drew a 47.9. Last year only drew a 46.3. So I was kind of right. I said it'd be the most, but I said it would draw a 55, and it wasn't close. It drew a 55 in a lot of places, a lot of individual cities, but it ended up drawing a 47.9 nationwide. And what we're going to talk about, we talked last week about NASCAR and the new playoff system, and this week we're going to talk about NASCAR and the new penalty system. And basically you've got penalties ranking 1 through 6, but the interesting thing about these penalties is if you get a P5 or a P6, which is a penalty 5 or a penalty 6, the highest, worst penalties, if you will, then your win isn't taken away, but your win in the chase standings, right? All the points from that win are taken away. So you still get whatever you would get from winning the race, but it doesn't it doesn't apply towards the race. So my guarantee this week is that during this NASCAR season, we will not see a P5 or P6. I guarantee that no team will take the risk, and we're going to read them here in a second. Basically, P5 and P6s don't have anything to do with on the track, but they have to do with what you do in the garage. And I guarantee no NASCAR team is going to take the risk of losing the points in the chase.
There we go. That's my fault for not setting that up at all. We'll come back in 3 minutes and talk about exactly what P5 and a P6 means. We've got a lot more stuff to cover in our last hour, or our last 30 minutes even. So y'all stick around. I've got a good recipe for you and a couple other things to talk about. So we'll be back here in about 3 minutes. Yeah, you could have told me.